Welcome to another episode of Talk Leadership with Shola, powered by Shola Leadership Blueprint, where we talk about anything leadership. Today's conversation is honest, may be uncomfortable, but it's actually necessary. Because one of the greatest issues in the workplace today is this. Some of the most talented people in the room never become leaders. Now, not because they are not intelligent, not because they are not educated, and definitely not because they lack potential, but because something invisible is holding them back. Today, we're going to unpack fear, invisibility, lack of confidence, workplace politics, self-sabotage, and waiting to be chosen. Does that sound familiar? Okay, so whether you're an aspiring leader, a young professional, a student, or someone actually trying to find your voice in your career, this episode is for you. So I'll say, grab your drink, get your notebook, and let's talk leadership. There is something I have noticed over the years. Some people walk into rooms with average talent, but somehow rise quickly. Have you observed that? And then there are others, brilliant people, hardworking people, quite really dependable and creative, yet they remain unseen. They remain stuck. And over time, many of them begin to question themselves. Does that resonate with anyone listening? Maybe I'm not good enough. Have you had that phrase before? Maybe leadership is not for me. Maybe my time will never come. But the truth is, talent alone does not make people leaders. Now, leadership is not only about competence, it's about visibility, confidence, emotional intelligence, strategic positioning, communication, and courage. And many talented people were never taught these things. So let's start with fear. Fear is one of the biggest reasons talented people never rise. And the dangerous thing about fear is it rarely looks dramatic. Sometimes fear looks actually like overthinking, silence in meetings. I don't want to talk. Procrastination, avoiding opportunities, shrinking yourself, or constantly doubting your own ability. Does that sound familiar? Now, some people are waiting to feel fully ready before they speak up. But leadership does not wait for your comfort. Leadership often requires movement before confidence arrives. Many people are actually trapped in what I call safe invisibility. You are present, but you're hidden. You're capable, but silent. Now, you actually know the answer, but you don't speak. How many of us have been in meetings or, in a conference and they ask questions and you really know the answer, but you won't say anything. And immediately you see someone raise their hand up, exactly what you want to say is what that person has said. And that person received an applause. And then you're so gutted within yourself. You have ideas, but someone else presents it first. And eventually, people stop associating you with leadership because they rarely experience your voice. Fear can make gifted people invisible. And unfortunately, workplaces do not always reward silent excellence. Now, let's talk about invisibility. Now, this one could be quite deep because many young professionals were raised to believe if I work hard, people will naturally notice me. But in reality, hard work without visibility often leads to frustration. Now, I need to be clear on this. I am not talking about arrogance. I am not talking about noise. And I'm not talking about fake social media motivation. I am talking about strategic visibility. Can people connect your name to value? That's a question. When opportunities arise, does your name enter the conversation? Because leadership is not just about doing good work. It's about being known for good work. Some people have become so comfortable hiding behind humility that they unintentionally sabotage their own growth. You must learn how to communicate your ideas, speak with confidence, contribute visibly, and own your own expertise. Because there are people less talented than you getting opportunities simply because they learn how to be seen. That may actually sound painful, but it's actually the truth. Now, let's discuss confidence. Confidence is not loudness. We need to get that straight. Some of the loudest people are deeply insecure. Real confidence is quiet self belief. That is, it's the ability to walk into rooms without needing constant validation. And many talented people struggle here. Why? Because they focus so much on their weaknesses that they forget their strengths. They constantly compare themselves. To be sincere, social media has actually made this worse. Every day, people are watching promotions, achievements, awards, luxury lifestyles, quotes, successful people online, and quietly feeling behind. But confidence cannot grow where comparison dominates. Some people are waiting for external approval before believing in themselves. Can I tell you something? Leadership begins internally first. You must start seeing yourself differently before the world responds differently to you. The way you speak, the way you enter rooms, the way you communicate, the way you carry yourself, all of these things shape leadership perception. And sadly, many talented people talk themselves out of opportunities before anyone else does. Now, let's address the uncomfortable topic, workplace politics. Yes, you had me right. Workplace politics. Many talented people fail because they ignore relational intelligence. Now, let me explain this carefully. Workplace politics does not always mean manipulation. Not at all. Sometimes it simply means understanding people, power, influence, relationships, communication, organizational structure, timing. Some professionals think, I just want to work hard and go home. Have you had that phrase before? But leadership requires relational awareness. Who trusts you? Who knows your work? Who advocates for you in rooms you are not in? Because opportunities are often connected to relationships. Think about that. And sometimes talented people isolate themselves so much that nobody truly knows them professionally. You can be excellent but disconnected. Yes, you had me right. You can also be capable but strategically absent. And unfortunately, leadership spaces often reward people who understands both competence and connection. Now, let's talk about self-sabotage. Because many people are not only fighting external barriers, they're actually fighting internal ones also. Sometimes people fear success more than failure. Yes, you may think, what? Yes, sometimes people fear success more than failure because, success actually brings visibility, responsibility. It brings expectations, it brings exposure, and also it brings pressure. So unconsciously, they shrink themselves. They avoid opportunities. They delay applications. They undercharge. They actually downplay achievements and they refuse to speak publicly. They stay in rooms that have actually expired. And then they say, my time will come. Have you had that before? Unfortunately, leadership requires intentional movement. You cannot continuously shrink yourself and expect expansion. That's not going to happen. Some people are living beneath their potential because they became so comfortable with survival instead of growth. And one of the hardest things in life is realizing that your greatest limitation may not be other people. It may be the version of yourself you have not accepted. Now, waiting to be chosen. Perhaps maybe this is the biggest issue of all that we've spoken about. Waiting to be chosen, waiting for permission, waiting for validation, waiting for recognition, waiting for opportunities, waiting for invitations, waiting for approvals. But leadership often begins when you choose yourself first. Some people are waiting for the perfect mentor, the perfect opportunity, or maybe the perfect title. Meanwhile, the future belongs to people who are willing to start before everything feels perfect. Apply for the role, start the podcast, speak in meeting, share the idea you've got, build the platform, launch that project you've been sitting on. Because nobody can discover a version of you that you refuse to reveal. And let me tell you something very important. Choosing yourself is not pride, it's actually responsibility. because the world loses something valuable when talented people stay hidden. Now, before I bring this discussion to an end, I want you to reflect honestly about this episode. Where have you been hiding? Is it fear, lack of confidence, overthinking, past rejection, comfort, people pleasing? What is stopping your leadership growth? That's the question I need you to reflect on. Because leadership is not just about managing people, leadership is about becoming. And before the world promotes you, you must first confront the invisible things limiting you internally. Reflect on that. This brings me to the end of another episode. Thank you for joining me today on Talk Leadership with Shola, where we talk about anything leadership. If this episode challenged you, inspired you, or helped you reflect differently, please kindly subscribe, share this episode, and join in our growing leadership community. And remember this, the world does not only need talented people, the world needs courageous people willing to be seen. Until next time, keep growing, keep leading, and keep becoming.